Number 10, hotel speed. Okay, picture this. You're young and in a hotel with your parents. Maybe it's a vacation, maybe it's a trip, or maybe it's a hockey game. Nice. Nonetheless, you find yourself in a long hallway with a strange looking carpet. Hotel hallways always have weird carpets, I don't know. Maybe it's the giant hamburger and milkshake you just ate. Maybe it's the hotel TV, or the excitement of just not being at home. But something has changed. You're different. Your powers have been amplified. For this corridor will be your personal racetrack. A shame Guinness World Records isn't here to clock you in at max speed, because for some reason if you fly down that hallway any faster, the rug would catch fire. Yes, the joys of running down a hotel hallway. This is probably how the first Olympians felt at the first Olympic Games. I'm comparing it to that for some reason, sure we'll go with it. Where the only event at these Olympic Games was running. Like many of the other events that would later come later on, this was done without clothing, which is fine. As long as you're, not doing that in the hotel hallway. Keep clothes on. Number 9, WWE, brother. Only if you could have seen the look on my face when I discovered that wrestling in the WWE isn't as real as I thought it was. The shock, the confusion, and the loud ringing in my ear. It was pretty serious for me. I got really into it as a kid. Gave me some Vietnam flashbacks, seriously. You mean to tell me that there was an intricate planning into every hidden fall, every entrance, and every time we heard the sound of a steel chair connecting with someone's forehead? Oh man. As a kid, I never would have guessed that, but when the Undertaker walks in a room, you take notice. Those thoughts just go away. Sadly, the ancient Greeks did not have cage matches, turnbuckles, or personas based on hyper male confidence. What they did have, however, was some real wrestling, some bare knuckle, no clothes, oiled up kind of wrestling. Nice. Instead of a one leg up pin, a scoring system was used for when the opponent's body was on the ground. And I'm sure lots of people got injured in the process. Whew, no thanks. I'll stick to the cage matches. Number 8, pancration. Here's another story for you. It might seem kind of silly, but growing up, I got to witness the birth of a mainstream sport. The UFC got its start in the early 90s, but blew up in the mid 2000s. Now, I'm not much of a sports guy. Besides major championship matches or games, I don't really watch any sports. I'm more of a film and video game guy, if you couldn't tell. However, my first interaction with the UFC was seeing an octagon-shaped ring, and my grade 2 geometry immediately kicked in and said, that's an octagon. Wow, okay, that's different. However, the second thing that I noticed is that this was not wrestling, and this wasn't boxing. It was kind of a mixture of both. Sort of a mixed martial art, if you will. Well, that's kind of what pancration was. There was no indirect punching or kicking, but pretty much anything else goes. To me, this sounds like a good way to get injured. Kind of like wrestling before, now it's just even worse. And as I'm sure you all know, paper cuts can be lethal back then, so maybe not such a good idea. Did I mention this is done without clothes too? Everyone's naked. Number 7, catch the cross. Here's a modern one for you that I think was pretty cool. Always learning here at Bumblebee. This is new for me. Catching the cross may sound like something you do at a wedding. Instead of a bouquet of flowers, you catch a little Jesus. There you over here. Oh, I want it. All jokes aside, this is one of the biggest celebrations of Orthodox Christians. Basically, it works like little weights your mom bought for the pool so you can practice diving. A priest throws a cross in a holy blessed body of water, and then young men from around all the village come and dive to retrieve it. Diving for weights was one of my favorite things to do as a kid. A cross? Sure, we'll go for it. We'll do it. Let's go. I'll dig up some Jesus. Let's go. Number 6, Ragutsaria. Halloween. North American children's favorite fall holiday. When I went to college, I made friends with a lot of international students, and for a lot of them, it was going to be their first Halloween that coming fall. It was a pretty cool experience to have their first with me. It was pretty cool. Who doesn't love Halloween? Personally, I prefer the costumes that were funny over scary, right? I've done so many funny things. Well, what if I told you that there's a similar holiday in Greece, just less Value Village costumes? In January, people in Castoria City wear scary masks and exorcise demons from the city. Who are you gonna call? Once all these spooky demons have been scared off, the masked people pass by where they sometimes receive coins for their ghost-busting services. That's kinda cool. You wear a mask, go scare someone, and then you get a coin. There's a coin for you. Have a coin. I'll take the drachma. Do they still use drachma? No, it's euros, right? Number 5, Virgin Mary snakes. Okay, this one is a little strange, especially if you've got an issue with snakes. I pride myself living in Canada because we have so many few species of venomous snakes. I believe it's 4 to be exact. That's good. 4 is a good number. That's not a shot at Australia. I love you guys, but you've got too many. On the island of Cephalonia, there's an event that happens every year that resembles our Groundhog Day. Except it's not freezing cold out, and we're not waiting hours for a small town mayor to tell us if he saw a groundhog shadow or not, and to vote for him in the next election. On the 15th of August is the celebration of the Dormition of Virgin Mary. During the service in the Church of the Virgin Mary and Marco Polo, harmless little snakes appear inside around this church, and at the end of the day, they disappear. As legend tells it, it's because pirates showed up to the island, and thanks to prayer, some snakes showed up as well to chase off said pirates. Kind of a weird story. It's kind of like Groundhog Day, sort of, kind of, right? There's a connection there, sure. Number 4, Christmas boat. Christmas boat, oh Christmas boat, I'm full of turkey, I hope you float. Isn't that cute? That was cute. That was good. I don't know about you guys, but if you've been watching here for a while, you know that I love Christmas. It's my favorite holiday. I love the music, I love the joy in the air, I love spending it with the whole family, grandma and grandpa, the snow, I love it all. And especially the movies. I love Christmas movies. Christmas Vacation is my favorite. Least favorite, Polar Express. It's not as good as people think. I don't know why people keep telling me that. It's not that good. It's not Tom Hanks' best work. Well, what's always good is decorating the Christmas tree. Well, as it turns out, some places in Greece, they decorate the kavarki, which is actually a boat with Christmas decorations instead of a tree. I can go either way, but with the boat, there's less pine needles to clean up and less for the family pet to eat and eventually vomit on the Christmas tree. That happens every year. I swear to God, I got a cat and it just does a little hairball on the little thing around the Christmas tree. The skirt, that's what it's called, the skirt. Anyway, number 3, the long jump. After running in armor, it was discovered that jumping makes for a great Olympic event. How high? How far? It's simple, really. It should come as no surprise that I did not perform well in that section of track and field day at school. To my disadvantage, there was no strength-based events because it was considered unhealthy for us because we were so young. Yeah, I wasn't sure about that. My counter to that argument would be, why are you making tubby kids run the 1500 meter? That's liable to have the kid with asthma writing his math test in the hospital bed later. I'd probably be joining him. However, I am a supporter of the ancient Greek jumping event. Basically, athletes gotta jump as far as they can whilst holding 2 large rocks. Now, if we did that today, people would know what it's like to do a long jump when grandma feeds you too much. Yeah, it's not easy. Number 2, the discus, the javelin, and the hammer. Sounds like a good band. Hey, these are all events that we still compete in today. That's awesome, but doesn't it make you nervous when the athletes are throwing those bad boys around? Especially the hammer throw. God, it just makes me so nervous. While I couldn't find an exact example of an accident happening, I doubt the ancient Greeks had safety in mind for spectators. The discus was made from stone or bronze, and they were tossing those suckers the same way Guy Fieri tosses Caesar salad. Which is a lot because he's kind of a big guy too. However, for me, it's the javelin that's most terrifying, as that was an appropriate weapon of war for the time, and athletes are just throwing them around like it's nothing. You're telling me the crowd was a safe distance away from the splash zone? Yeah, just keep your eye in the sky to be safe, folks. I don't know about that. Number 1, rap battle. Honestly, this is something we should bring back to the Olympics. While I was complaining about not being able to compete in strength-based events earlier, I, as a theater kid, would have much preferred some of the other less intensive events the ancient Greeks had up to offer. The ancient Greeks were not just chucking stones and chafing in bronze armor. There was also a competition with the arts. Poetry, song, and singing. Imagine if America entered Eminem into a rap battle contest. There would be no contest. Imagine if Canada entered one for musicians. K.D. Lang, Celine Dion, and Anne Murray, just singing angels. Number 7, the road trip. This isn't an Olympic event, but honestly, it should have been. Think about it for a minute. I want you guys to look out the nearest window right now. Get up, go ahead, look out the nearest window. Tell me what you see. You probably see a road with cars. When you need a fast food fix, it's as simple as getting in a car and driving on the road to your destination. Or getting it delivered with your favorite food delivery app. It's 2022, we can do a lot of crazy stuff now. What I'm getting at is that people from all over the Greek city-states came to Olympia to witness the first Olympics. Except, you know, it would have been a triathlon just to get there. Frankly, my biggest fear, walking. That was the main mode of transportation, which after a while in those sandals was probably hell. Imagine trekking many, many miles by land and sea to only be exhausted to watch athletes become exhausted. Oh, I need some water just thinking about it. Woo. Number 6, peace. Peace. What's better than a good war? a better armistice, or at least I'd like to hope so. During these first Olympic Games, which on a side note, if I had a time machine and a scooter, I'd love to see firsthand. There was people and athletes coming from all corners of Hellenistic civilization, all Greek states and colonies. Well, sometimes these Greek states got caught up in these little things called wars. Who knew, right? But when the Olympics were on, a truce was called. Messengers were dispatched to announce the truce, which gave all the people traveling on their long treks safe passage. I also find it somewhat amusing that they did this all for one day. That's right, the events only lasted one day. Some folks did days of traveling only to have it all be over in 24 hours. The opening ceremony couldn't have taken that long either, so I feel like it's kind of a waste of time. Only if we got some of that peace right now. Russia is looking at Ukraine a certain kind of way, just waiting to act up. Bad Russia, stay in your corner. Number 5, tanks. Okay, so after a few Olympics, people got tired of walking those many miles just to see some dudes run a mile. We need more events, said the Olympic organizers, but what? We have athletes running, what else is there? Okay, I hear you. What if we get athletes to run, but with full military armor and gear on? Yeah, that's right. There was another race where athletes would wield the armor of the Greek soldiers and race. I can imagine that there was a clunking noise, or at least a lot of it, and also how difficult it must be to run in bronze armor. I'm gonna let you guys in on a little secret. Come a little closer. A little closer. A little closer. Whoa, too close. Bronze armor isn't good for chafing. Because let me tell you something, hot Mediterranean sun, not a lot of water, and running in hot metal attire? Someone's gonna have to come over and put baby powder on my bum bum. Number 4, the classic. I don't know why, but when I think of ancient Greeks, I think of grapes on the vine, marble, chariots, and the movie 300. It's kind of hard to forget those spray-on abs. Although someone could put them on me, kind of nice. Equestrian events were another event of the ancient Greek Olympics, and I have something nice to say about something for once. While every other event was dominated by males because, well, only males were allowed to compete of course, the equestrian events allowed women. Nice! And naturally, ladies, when someone points the spotlight on you, you shine. A notable winner of the event was Cynicica, a Spartan princess and athlete who was an excellent horse breeder. I guess that's a nice thing to be remembered by. According to some records, 2 monuments were built in honor of her victory. I rode a horse once. I can firmly say that I prefer the automobile. Just saying. You walk around like that, that's why all the cowboys walk like this. You just do that all that. Number 10, the Antikythera device. I think I said that right. The Antikythera mechanism or device, I mean this sounds like something straight out of Call of Duty Zombies, but the discovery comes to us straight from the magical land of antiquity. The land of marble, democracy, and olive oil. Very nice, beautiful. It's more Italian than Greek, but okay, we're gonna go with it. In 1901, Greek divers found a shipwreck not too far from the island of Antikythera. Naturally, they looked in to see what was inside. Remnants of cargo included pottery, coins, jewels, and a strange gear-like device. Later it was dubbed the Antikythera device. It was also later discovered to be that of a very early analog computer. Ooh. It was a fancy way of saying a basic or manual power computer that calculates simple solutions, or that of a singular solution. It might not sound like much, but to me it's a very unique find. Sure, this machine was simple, but it makes us wonder what else may have been lost to time. It's thought to have been used as an astrological calendar, aiding the user in mapping out where the sun and moon will be on different dates. Pretty cool, I don't know, how do they do that though? That's, you know what I mean? Like, how do they think of that? I couldn't even think of that. I'm a modern guy. Jeez. Number 9, purple orb. I've been around for a little while now, and in my scientific research, I've seen my fair share of orbs. You got Goku's Kamehameha, you got the orbs in Mario Party. Heck, I've chased so many orbs in Call of Duty Zombies, I've lost count. The point I'm making here is, I know an orb when I see an orb. I know one when I see one. The purple orb found at the bottom of the Pacific Ocean floor, not too far from the California coast. Well, frankly, I have no idea what this is, said also the scientist who discovered it in 2016 while exploring the ocean floor. Scientists discovered a purple spherical blob, aptly named Blobus purpurus. You can't get better than that, folks. Naturally, using a very high-tech device called a vacuum, we sucked that bad boy up like a farmer gets sucked up in a UFO in the middle of a cornfield in Arkansas. For further analysis, of course. What else? The verdict? We ain't too sure yet. It could be some form of sea slug, but if that's the case, it's the first purple one ever caught, showing that if you look hard enough, you can find shiny Pokemon too. Number 8, the Megalodon. This one goes out to all the people who went to see a movie called Jaws in the 70s and had no idea what they were in for. I can only imagine what kind of pants-soiling experience that must have been. For our younger audience to understand, there just wasn't any movie like Jaws around back then. It was pretty unique. A summer blockbuster, and it changed film forever, honestly. It also made people think twice about going into deep water at the beach. You never know, I know that was a movie, but you never know, said people. Well, what if I told you Jaws weren't too far from the truth? Yes, that's right, folks. Fossils have been found dating back to 20 million years ago, and these fossils belong to that of the mega shark, the Megalodon. A great white shark is anywhere between 4.5 meters to around 8 meters at the most. The Meg, as she's commonly called, she's estimated to be around 17 meters. That's over 50 feet in American, folks. That's a big fish, man. While a full fossil has never been found, teeth and some bone paint an image of a very beastly fish. Not what I want to cross. I just stay out of the water. I like water, but I like swimming pools, chlorine. I'd rather swim in pee than with sharks. Okay, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm here to tell you, folks. Number 3, the big squid. This one is simple. In the last couple years, both unmanned expeditions and cameras attached to deep sea drilling rigs have caught footage of giant squids. This is impressive for 2 reasons. 1, their size. I mean, these guys are massive, and well, 2, because of their elusive nature and the fact they live really far down in the ocean. We just don't know that much about them and or have that much footage on them. So we take anything we can get. The largest squid on record from head to well, tentacle or appendage, whatever you want to call it, measured in at a whopping 43 feet. That's a big squid, man. It's almost hard to imagine creatures living that far down there that big. It's a good thing it's difficult for us to get down there. Not that I have any interest going down there, it's just, I'm not so scared. I'm not scared. I'm a little scared. Number 2, anglerfish. Here's another horror from the depths of the ocean. Folks around my age may recall the anglerfish from the terrifying moment in the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. Movies and media is how I relate to things. Just trust me. Remember the part with the ice cream? Remember he's got the ice cream and he's eating them? Remember that part? Yeah, it's weird. Anglerfish are best known for their third appendage that in some anglerfish possess the ability of bioluminescence, or like a fluffy antenna that kind of just hangs off the forehead. What's the reason for this decorative dancey bit? Well, it's to lure in food, like a fishing lure that we would use. Kind of cool. That's when it strikes with its razor sharp teeth and the most awful surprise attack ever from probably one of the most, if not the ugliest fish out of the ocean. Number 1, crop circles. Most crop circles that you find are found in cornfields in middle America, where people claim that little green men came to visit them in the middle of the night. I swears by it. Well, as some divers discovered in 1995, there were crop circles at the bottom of the ocean. But what could make those? Aliens? No one knew what was causing them. Well, it turns out that in 2011, the mystery was solved. It was actually a cute pufferfish, or I say one. It was actually a species of cute pufferfish that were making art on the ocean floor with their fins in hopes of recruiting a mate. It's a good thing I don't have to use art because I was never good at drawing. It wouldn't go very well. Good thing I got cute little blue eyes. Oh my goodness. Okay guys, that's gonna wrap it up for me today. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe here at Bumblebee for more. And if you too want to make art on the ocean floor with me, then check out my socials down below. Come on, give me a follow. Come on over. I love you guys so much. I will see you soon. Stay sweet, my little honeybees. Bye. Number 10, Dionysia. Okay, this one's pretty cool actually. The best way I could describe it is like it's a very old film festival, or how my friends and I treated the MCU movies. Bunch of my friends lived together and it was kind of like the House of Nerds. We were pretty cool, I swear. We all couldn't wait to get out and see the movies with who it seemed like every other person on Earth was also going to see the movies. The Avengers, they were pretty cool. That's what Dionysia in a nutshell is. Just less Captain America and no spandex. People would flock Athens to come watch plays in their huge amphitheaters. And oh, of course, just like all parties on this list here, there's gonna be lots of food and drink and wine. Can't have a showing without wine. Can't have that. Number 9. Kottabos. Well, in case you're wondering, yes, I have been to a few parties in my life. High school and college were times of great nights and even worse hangovers. Well, what can I say? I just enjoyed my time with friends and even strangers sometimes. And of course, I may or may not have had a few beer. That depends on if my mom's watching this video or not. I'm sorry, Mom. I also may have partaken in a few drinking games like Flip Cup, King's Cup, and my favorite, beer pong. You're looking at the basement champion there, folks, the number one. You're looking at, I'm number one, brother! Well, surprisingly enough, even in ancient times, the Greeks enjoyed drinking games. You wouldn't think. A game called Kottabos. The objective of the game was to swirl your cup around and throw it at targets. A lot of times inside the home. To me, it sounds like I'm going to need a towel for all that spilled liquid. I gotta clean up before mom gets home or else I'll be in trouble. Number 8, frat parties. Okay, so given that they love to drink and party and as well as play games, it seems to make sense that the comparison of a modern day frat house is that of to the Greeks and the whole fraternity thing, that they're Greek names. What I'm getting at is sometimes the frat houses aren't the most well taken care of. You ever seen Animal House? Yeah, exactly, you know what I mean. Well, as it turns out, the ancient Greeks might have had some frat behavior themselves, besides the drinking games. And actually, besides wearing togas, I'm not sure if that was true or not. The Greeks would sometimes throw furniture around in their stupors. It's so strange, you just think of them being such educated wise men, not toga partying 70s animals, but here we are.
Number 7, Leda and the swan. Like, Zeus, head of the gods, the one we all should be looking up to, was like questionably immoral. But like, I mean, when you're a god, you can kind of do what you want. This story hurts my head because I just, like, how does A get to B? Anyways, Leda was the daughter of the king of Pleuron in Aetolia and wife to Tyndaris. One day she wandered by the river Eurotas and Zeus fell hard for this bathing beauty, but he just couldn't show up in his true form because 1, Hera, his wife and sister, was watching, and 2, she probably would explode if she saw his true form. So he went to Aphrodite to ask what to do, and she transformed him into an immaculate swan. By either seduction or nefarious action, there's 2 sides to the story. Some say her, and others say that she was into it, I don't know. Leda became pregnant either way and gave birth to 2 eggs. Eggs! Inside the eggs were 2 sets of twins. One, the infamous Helen of Troy and Polydeuces, and the other 2 were born from Leda's husband, Clytemnestra and Castor. One pair was immortal and the other mortal, which is also still confusing because, like, didn't Helen of Troy die? I don't know. There was also another version which is pretty much the same tale, except it was the goddess Nemesis, not Leda, and Zeus turned into a beaver, and it was just really weird. So again, confusing. No idea what's going on. Number 6, Cronus. I like how the Greek gods are as like chaotic to how the world is in Greek mythology. It kind of makes a weird sort of sense, you know? This weird godly family was messed up from the very beginning, and if you don't know the original story of Cronus, then, well, here you go. Before the gods of Olympus, before Zeus and Hera, there were the elder gods Gaia and Uranus, and then their son Cronus, who married Rhea. Cronus overthrew his father, and when he heard that one of his children was going to do the same thing, he decided to eat them. All of them. Just gobbled them down like an aspirin. Rhea wasn't a huge fan of the whole thing, and eventually enough was enough. So when Cronus went to swallow Zeus, Rhea tricked him and gave him a rock instead. She stole Zeus and hid him away until the day he would be strong enough to return and overtake his father. Disguised as a cupbearer, he gave his father a purgative which made him puke up all of his siblings. Together they stormed against their father and overthrew him after 10 years in battle. Whew, that's a rough start to family life. And then Zeus married his sister, and there was a whole bunch of incest. It's just, you know what I mean. You've heard that. Number 5, the story of Myrrha. What is she pointing at? Ever been so sad and disheartened that you just wish you could turn into a tree? Yeah, me too. Then people could just leave me alone. However, the only person to ever successfully transform into a tree was Myrrha, who turned into the Myrrh tree. But the story behind it is kind of messed up. Myrrha loved her father. A little too much. Like, way too much. She was in love with her father and desperately wanted to be with him. She knew it was wrong and tried everything to resist the gnawing desire inside of her, even trying to take her own life. Her nurse found her and, fearing ever parting with her, decided to work up a scheme to hitch the 2 together. On the celebration of Bacchus, the queen hitched town, so the bed was empty. You see where this is going. Disguised as a maid, the nurse brought Myrrha to his bedchamber for 12 straight nights. On the final night, the king, overwhelmed with curiosity, removed the mask she was wearing. When he discovered that his lover had been his daughter, he reached for his sword and tried to kill her. Makes sense. Myrrha fled her father and ran across the desert for 9 months, and surprise, she was pregnant. When she couldn't run anymore, she begged the gods to hide her from the world. They took pity on her and turned her into the Myrrh tree, which one day would be hit by a running boar, revealing the child Adonis tucked into the bark. Adonis was also supposed to be super hot and awesome, which totally doesn't play by the rules of like incest. Like usually something goes wrong there. Remember Joffrey? Like that didn't go well. Number 4, Ixion. This one is confusing because it prompts a question I've never wanted to ask. How do you even make love to a cloud? When Ixion, the king of Lapiths and the son of Ares, married Dia, the daughter of Dionysus, he promised him a gift. However, when Ixion reneged on the promise, Dionysus stole some of his horses. Enraged, Ixion invited him to dinner to make amends, but instead pushed him into a fiery pit of coals. I mean, he is the son of Ares, like what you expect. He was banished for such a crime because it was completely uncool, but after a few years, wandering sad and alone, Zeus took pity on him and invited him up to Olympus. That's a good idea, where Ixion got the hots for Hera. Zeus decided to see if he would actually even try it, like would he even try it? And so he sent him a cloud shaped like Hera. Ixion did try it, and he made love with the cloud, and even stranger, it got pregnant. Their union gave birth to the first centaurs, who were literally and figuratively horny little half-horse, half-human people that roamed the world. As further punishment, Ixion was thrown from Olympus, struck by Zeus's lightning bolt, and bound by Hermes to a fiery spinning wheel. Some people just really don't deserve your pity, man. They just don't.
Number 3. Apokries. This is the big one, baby. It's the one all Greeks wait for, or at least so I'm told. She starts off with a big fat church meeting and then no eating meat. No, don't. The whole thing lasts weeks with a surplus of dairy, cheese, and wine consumption, which is just fine by me. Then the masks get busted out, kind of similar to Mardi Gras and other Western Christian celebrations of the sort. Hey, if there's ever some lovely Greek fans out there, Taylor, Adam, and I could go for some delicious Greek cooking. We're all hungry boys, just saying. There's also an assortment of parades that look pretty fun too, the biggest one being in Patra. So in a nutshell, it's Greek Mardi Gras, just less sin. Number 2, Clean Monday. This is where we clean ourselves up. It's the Monday that ends the festivities. Some of you may know it as Lent, but this is huge in Greece. This is where we give up all of our meat eating and we eat seafood. Because, you know, fish, that's not meat for some reason. Right? It's weird. But it's 40 days of repenting, letting go of your sin, and all the mischief of the festival that you may or may not have partaken in. No need to bring up how much wine I drank. But I guess every party has to come to an end, right? And coming into the number 1 spot today, we have plate smashing. Oppa! Now how can I mention any Greek party or celebration without a plate breaking? It's been around for a long time, and how can you make this list without talking about plate smashing and Greek weddings? Any regular Greek wedding beats any of these holidays any day of the week. Enough food to feed an army, literally, music, dancing, and enough wine to sink a ship. All of this as soon as the bride and groom break the plate. It's beautiful. I love it. Shout out to the Danforth, you know what I'm saying?
The gods, man, they love to throw some bestiality as punishment at their will and pleasure. Equus probably would have been their favorite Broadway show. Everyone knows the story of the Minotaur, but do you know how it all got started? Well, let me enlighten you. King Minos begged the god Poseidon to send him a glorious white bull that he could sacrifice. The god obliged. He sent him the most beautiful, stunning creature from out of the sea, because apparently bulls come out of the sea. Anyways, but when King Minos went to sacrifice the creature, he found he could not bring himself to kill such a noble beast, so he just killed another bull instead. Outraged by his disobedience, Poseidon punished him by making his wife Pasiphae fall into uncontrollable lust with the bull. She convinced an Athenian inventor to create a hollow wooden bull for her to hide in, kind of like a Trojan horse, that could facilitate a union. Yeah. Like a union. You get what I mean by that, yeah. She then later gave birth to the one, the only, the Minotaur, which would later plague King Minos and all that fun stuff. You know, like the whole labyrinth thing, yeah. That story. Weird. Don't understand it. But here it is. Number 9, Arachne. You'd think if someone was really good at something, they should be rewarded. But no, oh no, that's not how the ancient gods worked. Their egos were very fragile. Sorry, okay, chill out. Anyways, Arachne was a girl who was an incredibly talented seamstress, which made her a little bit cocky. One day she was so proud of her work that she proclaimed that she was a better weaver than Athena. Athena was the goddess of wisdom and war, so not a good person to mess with. Athena warned her not to make such claims, but she ignored her, so the two faced off. The two had a weaving contest in which Arachne ended up winning in front of all of the onlookers, but Athena didn't accept defeat gracefully and, instead of rewarding her, punished Arachne to feel immense overwhelming guilt, causing her to take her own life. But that wasn't enough for Athena. The goddess brought her back as a giant spider who would forever weave her designs in the forms of webs. Not very nice. Not very nice indeed. Number 8, Erysichthon. Are rich people rich because they're greedy, or greedy because they're rich? Either way, Erysichthon was, bottom line, a very greedy man with wealth that spilled over. Kind of like the Sun King, really. Planning to build another feast hall for himself because he needed another one, he demanded that a massive grove of trees be cut down to make room. This grove, however, was sacred to Demeter, the goddess of earth, but the men did as he asked, save for one tree. One tree was left standing, covered in beautiful wreaths, symbolizing every prayer she'd ever granted. When the men wouldn't do it, Erysichthon tried to do it himself. While doing so, he killed the dryad who lived in the tree, which really didn't bode well with the goddess. To suit his greed, she set down Lemos, the divine representation of starvation. Overwhelmed by a formidable hunger, the more he ate, the more he desired. He sold off his entire fortune, including his own daughter, to buy more and more food, but nothing would slake his hunger. Finally, he began eating himself, bit by bit, until he finally perished in his own greed, destitute and alone. So, moral of the story is don't cut down trees. Or don't be greedy and don't cut down trees.
Number 7, the city of Baiae. Okay, so Romans, right? I mean, no one does it like the Romans do. Gold, marble, parties. When they sent it, buddy, it was full send. Well, what if I told you that the Romans had a Las Vegas? Well, sort of. Obviously, there wasn't a majestic city in the middle of the desert with slot machines, line dancers, and Elvis Presley, but both cities were both built by corrupt Italian leaders. Oh, look at that. Some of these guys wore armor, and the others wore suits, so yeah, kind of makes sense. The city of Baiae was a resort town in the modern sense. A lot of Roman emperors, politicians owned villas there, which attracted other wealthy folks. Kind of like Las Vegas. Despite even Caesar himself owning property here, the city now unfortunately rests under the water, where you can find remnants of Roman activity, fragments of street, pottery, statues, coins, the works. It's not every day you get to visit a Roman resort underwater. It's located in the Mediterranean Sea, just west of the Italian coast. It's close enough to the ocean for me. Close enough, I think it counts. Pretty cool. Number 6, Pavlopetri. Similar to Baiae, but on a much more discovered on accident kind of deal. In 1967, a man named Nicholas Fleming was snorkeling in the area and, well, just so happened to see some weird stuff that he thought resembled a street. Naturally, when he got out of the water and told everybody, no one believed him. So, yeah, right, you're not telling the truth, yeah? It's not true, you're not, no. But after the area was mapped out in 1968, well, it turns out he was telling the truth. Here was the sunken city of Pavlopetri. What they found there was surprising. There were streets, grids, and foundations of buildings remaining. Even a small staircase. With all this evidence present, it's speculated that earthquakes around 1000 BCE are what sunk the city. However, what's most interesting is that it's speculated they were there from around 2800 BCE. So they're there for a long time, and the earthquake took them out. Kinda cool. I mean, earthquakes are not cool, but the story's cool. Number 5, the goblin shark. This animal is why I would hate being a scientist, but also would make for great TV. I get scared easily. It'd be kinda cool. Imagine there was a shark, but Mother Nature wasn't completely sold on the design. Okay, sure, it's fast and lethal and naturally blends into the waters to make an apex predator, but it just needs something more, Mother Nature said. Oh, I know. Let's add nail-like teeth and an extendable jaw. Oh, and a Jedi sixth sense. Yeah, that sounds right. Yes. That is right. The goblin sharks are the weird distant cousin of the shark. They live at the bottom of the ocean floor and eat pretty much whatever they can find down there. They hunt in darkness using their elongated snout that has literally a spider sense when something gets close to it, and a jaw that extends to help them grab food. It's like having Commando Pro from MW2, if anyone remembers that. Remember that one? That was hard. That was a tough perk, man. It got in the way of a lot of things. It just goes to show that there's a lot of weird things at the bottom of the ocean, and it really, I wouldn't be surprised if we find some more weird stuff down down there. It's gonna happen one day. Number 4, shipwreck of the San Jose. San Jose was part of the Spanish treasure fleet in the early 1700s, which in case you didn't know, was basically big boats for carrying all their loot and booty back to Spain. These ships were filled with everything of value: spices, tobacco, booze, silver, gems, metals, and most importantly, gold. Oh yes. I mean, that was the reason why they were there. She sank in 1708, but not too far from Colombia. She was eventually found by the Colombian Navy and has since been guarded as a state secret. I wonder why. The estimated value of the loot inside the ship's hull is to be worth around $15 billion US. Wow, that's a lot of money.
Number 3, Alcyone and Ceyx. This one kind of hurts my heart, if I'm being honest. The love story between these two is just something everyone longs for. They were admired by humans and the gods, and yet they were still punished for it. What? Alcyone was the daughter of the god of wind and devoted wife to King Ceyx of Trachis. They were so in love with each other, they often playfully called each other Zeus and Hera. Despite many of the gods admiring them, and this was clearly an endearment, Zeus wasn't pleased. How dare they compare themselves to the gods? So he waited until Ceyx planned to visit the oracle, against his wife's wishes, who was concerned the wind he faced would be too harsh on the sea. Even her father had difficulty controlling it. But he did, and Zeus stirred a storm that sunk the ship. With his last breath, Ceyx prayed his body would be brought back to his wife. Hera took pity on the mournful widow and sent a messenger and the body back to her. After burying her husband, she flung herself into the sea to be reunited with him. The gods were horrified by Zeus's actions because they loved the two of them, so he tried to atone for his rash action by transforming them into kingfisher birds. Yeah, Zeus, turning them into birds, it really fixes everything. Don't, you're fine. Number 2, Pan. What a weirdo! Pan is literally the weirdest horn dog god who ever graced the planet Earth. Firstly, the way this dude came to be makes no sense. There are many versions, but one of them involves Odysseus' lonely wife getting jiggy with 108 suitors. Pan, like, stamina, right? Pan had the hind legs and horn of a goat and was the god of shepherds, flocks, hunters, forests, pastoral music, and fertility, the last one being the most prominent. Let's Get It On by Marvin Gaye would have been this guy's anthem. He pursued everything and everyone, nymphs being his favorite. They would be so desperate to get away from him they'd have to turn into trees, Myrrha, reeds. Echo was even killed by his minions when she denied him. He could also multiply himself, creating like a swarm of Pan. He's also the only god who ever died, but no one is quite sure how that happened, so again, another confusing thing about him. Number 1, last but not least, Thyestes and Atreus. This next one will have your brain scrambled by the end. Thyestes and Atreus were brothers constantly at odds. While their father, the king of Mycenae, was away at war, they seized the city and Atreus became king. He sacrificed a lamb with a golden fleece to seal the deal with Artemis and gave the fleece to his wife, who was fooling around with his brother Thyestes, and she gave the fleece to him. Thyestes made his brother swear that whoever had the fleece would be king, and thinking that his wife kept it safe, he agreed. Thyestes then showed the fleece. Atreus, pissed off, asked the gods for help. Hermes told him to tell Thyestes to promise that he would be made king again if the sun went backwards in the sky. Thyestes agreed, thinking it was impossible, so Zeus made it happen. Then Atreus fed Thyestes his own sons for dinner unknowingly and banished him as punishment. Then an oracle told Thyestes that in order to exact revenge, his own daughter had to have his son. So he made that happen in the grossest way possible. And then, it sounds like I'm talking about some dramatic housewife show. And then the son grew up, killed Atreus, and Thyestes became king. But wait, Atreus' sons, Agamemnon and Menelaus, came back, overthrew him, and Agamemnon finally became king, ending the whole cycle. We're good. Alright, I'm tired after that one.